water. So here we are going to learn about atmosphere, and then we are going to learn about air pressure, what is air and air pressure, and how does temperature affects the air pressure, and then effects of temperature in land and water. So what are all the difference between land and water due to the cause of temperature? So children, should we start the lesson now? Good. So here the first one, take page number 63. As we all know, Earth is the only planet that has water and oxygen rich air that supports life. So we all know that Earth is the only place where we have water and oxygen for breathing. Earth's surface is covered 70% by water and is surrounded by a blanket of air called atmosphere. So we all know that Earth's surface covers 70% of water and is surrounded by a blanket of air called atmosphere. So the water which we have is 70% of water is covered in this earth, and a blanket of air is called atmosphere. The condition of temperature at a given time and place is referred to as weather. So condition of the temperature, if it is cool or if it is hot or if it is humid, whatever it is. So this is meant by weather. So condition of place and the time is being known as weather. So here we are going to learn now. Weather changes. So weather changes depends on the temperature of air pressure and the amount of moisture in the air. So the weather depends upon the air pressure and the amount of moisture in the air. What are the three things, children? Air pressure, the amount of moisture in the air. In this lesson, we will learn about water and air. So in this lesson, we will learn about air and water, land and sea breeze, evaporation, condensation and water cycle and so on. So in this lesson, we are going to learn about air and water, land and sea breeze, evaporation, condensation and water cycle. So clear, children? Shall we move on to the lesson? So here, air pressure. The first one is air pressure. Air has molecules which gives it its weight. So air has molecules which gives it its weight. So this air has molecules. Children, listen here. This air has molecules which give its weight. Is it clear to all? So this air which gives it the weight. So what happens here? When this air has molecules and which gives its weight, air molecules are always in a state of movement. So the molecules which are inside the air is always in a state of movement. It will not stand in a single place. It will move around the surface and in other places. And they hit each other and the surface around them. So when they are moving, they will hit each other, they will hit each other and they will hit on the surface around them. So here, this force exerted by these air molecules when they hit a surface or each other is called air pressure. So the air which goes and hits on something else around which is there or hits between them on each other is known as air pressure. So it is known as air pressure. So here molecules stay, so they will be in a movement state when they hit a surface or each other. This is called air pressure. So here, how does temperature affects air pressure? So here we all know air pressure. How this temperature affects? Temperature means the heat. Temperature means the heat. So how it affects the air pressure? When temperature rises, that is when air gets hot. The molecules in the air moves faster, thus the temperature increases, air pressure also increases. Children, very simple concept. So when the temperature is high, that means when it is very hot, what happens? The air is also very hot. So the air is also very hot. So when the air is hot, the molecules will move faster. So when it is hot, molecules will move faster. So the air pressure is also increased. It is also increased. The air pressure will increase. But when the temperature is cool, so when it is in the warm rainy climate, what happens? Molecules will excuse me. So when the temperature is cool, the air pressure will be, so what happens, the air molecules, they will move very slow. So what happens here, the air pressure will be decreased. Is it clear, student? So nothing is here. When the temperature is high, the air pressure will increase. When the temperature is low, the air pressure will also decrease. Is it clear to all? Next one, what we are going to see is effect of temperature on land and water. So what is the effect of temperature on the land and water? So here we know that sun's rays heat up both land and water. So we all know that the earth, the sun beams will come out to the earth. So what happens on the earth? The land part is there and the water part is also on the earth. What happens? The sun beam goes for both the places, and as well as we know, it will heat the two places at same time. This affects the temperature of each day. So this affects the temperature of the each day. Each day the sun rays will be in a different temperature, isn't it? When more heat is received from the sun, air also gets heated and rises up. So when a fine morning, when more temperature, more sun rays are going to come onto the earth, what happens? The place will be more hot. So the air will be also heated up and it will also rise up. Land always warm up and cools down faster than the sea. So what happens here? So if it is water and if it is land, so I will be giving an example. So now I am having a water bottle. So in this water bottle it is water and it is the land. What happens? Both will have the equal amount of temperature, sun heat. But what happens? This land will cool faster than the water. So this land will cool faster than the water. So children, shall we learn why it is like that? So here, sea breeze. So that's why it is being divided into two. So we said that land will cool more faster than the sea. So now we will see about the sea breeze. So the next one is sea breeze. During daytime, temperature of the land increases. So we all know during daytime the temperature of the land increases. Why? Because morning time the sunshine is very much powerful. So here, because of the heat from the sun. So this is because of the heat which comes from the sun. The air above the land also gets heated up because of the sun's rays. So what happens? When the land surface is here, when the air is here, the sun beams comes, the land will also get heated and the air which is here will also get heated. Here, this hot air rises up from the land and reaches a higher altitude. So we already said that the air is not in a single place, it is in a movement, state. So the hot air will move to the higher altitude. So it is not in the same place, it will move from one place to another. So like that it is going to move to the higher altitudes, leaving behind less air above the land. So it will be leaving some less air above the land, and the remaining hot air will move on upon to the higher altitudes. Hence, there is less air above the land, air pressure becomes lower above the land. So what happens here? Moreover the land or moreover the air will move to the higher altitudes and the remaining less air will normally be less. So what happens? It will cool here. So hence the less air above the land, air pressure becomes lower above the land. So that's why on the land, on the surface of the land, the remaining air goes up for the higher altitudes. So the land cools in a faster movement. The air above the sea is cooler and is near the surface of water. So the air pressure above the sea is high. So here the air pressure above the sea is high. Wind always blows from the high temperature area to the low temperature area. So we all know that the wind will blow in the high temperature area to the lower temperature area. When it is hot summer, you can see the air. It will be going from the hot place to cool. So cool air above the sea flows into take the place of the warm air on the land. So what happens? So when the air is being rotated in the sea, what happens? The cool air there is water, the air will be cool. So the cool air will move into the land and the hot air will move to the water. So like this, the cool air will move to the ground and it makes the land cool faster. So here, warm up air on the land which has risen up. This is known as sea breeze. So this is known as sea breeze. From the sea, where there is a hot, so sea is the water, the air which is there is cool, but the hot air will move to the higher altitude which is into the sea. So when this air goes to the sea, this air which is inside the sea will come out, which is a cool air and comes to the land. Is it clear, children? So here, nothing is given here. I will read it once again. During the daytime, temperature of the land increases. Air above the land also gets heated up, reaches the higher altitude. So we said, so even though it is getting heated up, the air which is on the land will move to the higher altitudes. There is less air above the land. Air pressure becomes lower above the land. So if it is 100% of air, 70% moves to the higher altitude. What happens? Remaining 30% will be on the land. So it will be more easier to cool. Air above the sea is cooler and is near to the surface of water. So the air pressure above the sea is high. So what happens here? So the ocean which is made up of water. So where there is water, the air will be also cool. So when this heat or hot air which comes to the higher altitude, which is the sea level, and what happens? It will push the cold air to the land. Wind always blows from a high pressure area to a low pressure area. So where there is more air, there only it will always blow. From there it will blow to the lower area. So air cool above the sea flows to take the place of the warm air on land. So the remaining 30% of air will also move and this cool air will occupy the place. So like this and as risen up. This is known as sea breeze. So this is known as sea breeze. Is it clear, children? Shall we move on to the next one? So children, the next one what we are going to learn is land breeze. So the next one what we are going to learn is land breeze. At night, the reverse process takes place. So what we learn now, at night what happens? The reverse process takes place. The air above the land cools faster than the air above the sea. So we already said that the air above the land cools faster than the air above the sea level. So the air above the sea is warmer than the air above the land. So now when it is the night time, what happens? So the exchange of the air has happened. So now the air above the water is warmer than the air above the land. The hot air above the sea rises, leaving behind less air above the sea. This reduces the air pressure above the sea. So now the next place to take up, what happens is the air which is on the water level, which is hot, takes place to the next one. Sorry, children. So here, the hot air above the sea rises, leaving behind the less air. So the hot air rises up and leaves the place. This reduces the air pressure above the sea. So now the hot air moves away. So what happens now? It reduces the hot or air pressure above the sea. As we all know, wind blows from the higher pressure to the lower pressure area. So now the hot air from the higher pressure area moves to the lower pressure area. This cool breeze flowing from the land to the sea is called land breeze. So now what happens? It moves from the water to the land. So what happens here? The air above the sea is cooler and near the surface of the water. So the air pressure, sorry children, so in the next one we learn this here. So what happens here? The hot air above the sea rises, leaving behind less air above the sea. It reduces the air pressure above the sea. As we all know that wind blows from the high pressure to the low pressure area. So cool air from the land moves towards the sea to take place of the air that has risen. This process flowing from the land to the sea is called land breeze. So now the hot air goes up and the cool air from the land moves to the water. So now this is called the land breeze. Is it clear, children? So the next one is evaporation. So the next one what we are going to see is evaporation. The process by which the liquid changes into vapor form on heating is called evaporation. So a liquid substance means now this water bottle, this water, I am going to heat this. What happens? The water will form into the gaseous state, and then it goes in the form of vaporization or vapor. So is it clear, children? The process by which the liquid changes into its vapor form on heating is called evaporation. Evaporation can take place on water bodies such as rivers, lakes, and seas and oceans. So this may take place in places such as rivers, lakes, sea, and ocean. Wind also helps in the process of evaporation. So here not only that, here also wind helps in the process of evaporation. So what happens here? If a container filled with water is placed in an area exposed to the heat of the sun. So when I am having a container full of water, I am keeping it in the exposed area where the sun heat is been coming. The water will slowly evaporate. So what happens? The water will slowly evaporate from the container. So the water amount from the container will be reduced little by little. When the weather is hot, more water will evaporate from the water bodies. This will increase the content of water vapor in the air. So when the weather is very much hot, more vapor will form. The increase in water vapor content of air makes the weather humid. So here humid means warm and damp. So what happens? The increase in water vapor content of air molecules makes the weather humid. Humid means warm and damp. So the process of evaporation happens faster under the following conditions. So the process of evaporation is going to be happen in the following conditions. One, on a windy day, when there is high temperature, when the exposed surface area is more, when there is less moisture content in the air. So what are the three places, children? On a windy day. Next one, when there is high temperature. The third one, when the exposed surface area is more. The fourth one, when there is less moisture content in the air. So children, is it clear? Today we learned about what we learned. We learned about air and water. In that we learned what is atmosphere, what is weather, and what is air pressure. So then we learned how temperature makes the difference in air pressure, affects the air pressure, and the effect of air temperature in the land and water. Then we learned about sea breeze, and then we learned about land breeze. At last we learned about evaporation and the places where the evaporation will be done faster. So next class we will learn about condensation and the processes are under the condensation and the water cycle. Is it clear, children? So your class is over here. Children, your today's assignment, write down the book back exercise page number 70 and 71, complete worksheet 3 page number 76. Children, I will repeat it once again. So see here, exercise page number 70 and 71, complete worksheet 3 page number 76. Thank you.